Assalamu alaikum to all of you again. So I'm taking your section E, and as everyone know, we have Meera from Gujranwala. Sarmanis is also there, and he belongs from Karachi. And again, we have Amina from Lahore. So today the topic is very critical that we are just going to talk about, and there are multiple questions that you all just have to answer to the students. And I have noticed this question on the paper. So the topic, I just want to make sure that you will be feasible with the topic as well. And the topic is your speaking. Like speaking is a giant for the students or it's just a skill. And why we are taking that topic today, as you know, we are living in an underdeveloped country. And while living in an undermined country, so students must and definitely have to face a lot of issues while speaking a second language. So, what are the technicalities or the tricks that you usually all apply over there while making them students fluent in this particular field of English speaking language as well? So, would you like to share your experience with us? That will be fine for us, and it will be very grateful thing for if you are just going to share that how you will make your student and you usually make your students fluent in speaking English language. So, firstly, we are moving towards Sermanis. Sermanis, would you like to say something about it? And then we will start sharing the questions that students have given us.
Thank you very much. When students initially start, they are pretty hesitant to speak at first. So my first job is to make them comfortable. Once they are comfortable, they start speaking, and after 2, 3 weeks, I see considerable improvement in their speaking. So I think speaking is a skill which a student can obviously master just by doing practice and speaking and learning new words, learning new phrases.
Hmm. So the question is that how you usually make your student comfortable with the things.
Well, I ask them questions regarding themselves,
Mm-hmm.
what they do, what kind of food they like, where do they live, what kind of hobbies they have. These kind of questions make them quite comfortable. After that, we move on to some opinionated questions like what do they think about the geopolitical situation of a particular country or a particular scenario. So once we are having a chat, so I know that the student is comfortable now. Now I can move on to the next level.
Hmm. That's great. Thank you for sharing your opinion with us. Yes, Amina, what would you say? How you will make your student, how usually you make the students comfortable with yourself and with the
Uh,
speaking?
Thank you so much for your question. Apart from, giving them stuff from listening and reading, I keep my focus on, on the things that how do they reflect or how do they respond to those activities. For example, if I give them some written task, I would ask them to, explain it to me in their own, words. And then, later they are able to, make up this story from the same task which they have written. So yes, I try to give them, few activities in which I can have the maximum amount of respond from their side.
Hmm. So, Mira, what would you say about the comfort zone that you give to your students?
Thank you, first of all, for asking the question. So,
Okay.
the things that I have noticed with the student is, firstly, whenever I ask them a question, they are like in a state of dilemma that the selection of words they are going to choose, whether it's correct or not. Like, apparently, they are speaking, but if I talk about their gestures, their facial expressions, they're a bit confused. So, firstly, I let them speak whatever is in their mind with whatever they want to speak. So I first them let them speak whenever they are in the flow, so they feel like now, yeah, I'm comfortable with the environment. So I move towards the further things like some opinionated questions, some other question, other things. Firstly, I let them speak.
Okay. So, one is there is a myth that we used to listen from the trainers, from the teachers who are just giving, you can say that knowledge to the students is how they can be fluent or fluent on the English language or the speaking. Like the myth is that they should have to go in front of mirror and while giving answers to the mirror. Is it true? And is it useful? You can say that activity if they will go in front of mirror and speak by their own.
Uh, I don't think so. It is an obligation in order to become a good speaker, but it is a good technique. I do think it works. Yeah,
I mean,
but
what do you
we
say?
cannot say if somebody don't do that, he cannot become a good speaker,
Hmm.
right?
I must say that apart from, doing stuff like making or assigning them into group activities or starting a small group so that, they can talk in the class, I think it is one of the most effective strategies if they can do on their own part, while they are practicing in front of the mirror or recording a video. So I think it's, the feasible idea, I must say.
Thank you. Amira, what would you say about second people who are learning the second language? They should think directly in English, or they must have to translate words firstly in their own language.
Can you please?
Firstly, I would say that they must go with the language they are going to speak, because if they are going to switch the language, finding words in their own native language, so it will be a bit hard for them to understand, because all the time it's not mandatory that the meaning of the word will be same in their own language, or the same with what they are going to speak in the future, like the other language, which is the second one. So I prefer that whenever you find the word difficult, so go with the meaning in the same language, rather than going or switching the native one.
Do you suggest someone else to the students to translate that particular word or sentence in their own language and then try to speak in English? What would you say?
No, I don't suggest my students to do that because it might be quite confusing sometimes. Also, they might not be able to translate it completely into English and Urdu at the same time. So, and also, uh, it doesn't work like that. You can't do it in a normal conversation. You will take too much time to answer a simple question, right? If you are doing this kind of, if you're translating something in Urdu and then translating it in English, right?
Hmm. So, Amina, what would you say? Why is everyone afraid of speaking English? It's a
Uh,
very critical question. Like
I think
student or the other common people used to ask that question, that we are afraid while speaking in front of people or public. So what do you say? Why they are afraid?
I think as the topic suggests that it is something, a giant, something which is, I think it is
It's
a
horrible.
mythical. Yeah, mythical. I think people take it relatively language as a great, difficulty. So I think it is just in the mind of a person. So from the day you start practicing on the things, you see a clear, confidence within yourself. I
Hmm.
think it's just about the time you need to have the initiative about certain things. Yes.
And how they can take that initiative step.
There are certain, things they can have. For example, they can go and follow some role model. They can ask for the professional advice. They can begin things at their own place, like reading books, finding stuff on internet, etc.
Hmm. Thank you, Meera. Would you like to say something about this particular question?
Yeah, sure, definitely. It's a very, I would say that a kind of a very important question nowadays. Like mostly students, they are very confused, because I would say that mostly they feel difficulty because they thought that maybe they would be kind of a fun in front of others. Maybe they would be criticized by them. So that is why they are facing very difficulty while speaking the second language. So, firstly, I would say that they should go with the listening process firstly, and because reading is something that nobody, like mostly students don't want to go for. They find it quite boring. So, listening is a thing that they find mostly interesting, because there are a lot of things that they can listen according to their own choices, like sometimes music, sometimes series, or the movies, whatever they are feasible with. So I suggest them to go with the listening process firstly, so it would be definitely efficient, or you can say helpful for them to learn it in quickly, or you can say fastly.
Actually, we have another question from our student, and his name is Zan. He used to ask that why grammar is important in speaking. So what do you say? Grammar is really, very important when we are just going to speak?
Grammar is very important if you want to make sense, not just in speaking, in listening, writing, and reading as well. Because you can't really sentence structure a sentence without grammar, right? How can you structure a sentence without grammar?
Hmm.
You can't really speak, write, or listen anything or understand anything without having the understanding of grammar, right?
Hmm. So grammar is the most important key. and it's essential part in our speaking. Yes,
It
Amina.
is an essential part, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. I think we require certain set of rules in order to indicate that we have learned, the language, or we know the language. So yes, in order to make sense with our words, grammar is essential.
I have last question for all of you. Like, what are the tricks, and how do you give a help or suggestion to the candidates to encounter the things where they are facing some issues, or they are just having them like a joint while speaking in front of someone? Okay, one by one, who will be the first? Yes, Amina, would you say something firstly? What are
I must suggest all the students out there to, practice more, practice with this stuff on their daily basis. Try to go on the repetition mode and, go with the repeat and try to be more fluent with this stuff. Then that's all.
That's all. Okay, Ji, Mira, what would you say?
I would say there are a list of strategies, methodologies, techniques that the students should apply. Firstly, I would say that go with the listening process. After that, the confidence, if I talk about, so I mostly ask them to engage themselves with the environment where they are visible, like a kind of a best friend. If you had a best friend, so you must go for them. You must have to be, you can say, that friendly environment where you can speak fluently. And the third thing is they should, you can say that. They should collaborate with the teacher. But what is the thing that is making trouble for them? They should go for it, like kind of. If I talk about the vocabulary process, so whenever they think that they're out for words, so because mostly students are out for words, they can find the right word to explain their feeling or the thing that they want to describe. So whenever they find a new word, they must try it in their day-to-day life, in their routine, because circumstances are not gonna be always in their favor. So they are the one who have to make the situation in their favor. So that are the, like, I have a lot of things that I would suggest them, but the most things are this, like listening and then using the vocabulary in their day-to-day life, and the confidence is the major one.
Okay, someone else, it's to you. What
All
else?
right, so I will not like to name it as a trick or tip. It's kind of an observation. I have observed that when students are listening English content, like maybe news, or it can be a TV show or a movie, when they are listening regularly in English, their speaking do improve, right? I don't know how does it works, but it does. And the second thing is that, as Amna also mentioned, that practice is the key. The
Hmm.
more you practice, the more you can speak better, right?
Okay, thank you very much to all of you. So these are the things that we have discussed for the students because they are just facing some issues. Thank you very much for joining me over there through the medium, and you know better, like the site training is conducting that meetup session, the instructor meetup session, and you all are very much helpful for the student as well. So that is why we are conducting this session again. So thank you. We will see you soon, inshallah, in another session. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you. Goodbye. Allah Hafiz.
You too. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.